I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that since you're listening to this or watching this, you, like me, are a high achiever. You have very high standards for yourself. You're looking to improve your life. Well, I want to flag a very big mistake that took me 52 years to uncover and to change in my own life. And it is the single biggest and most profound change that I have ever discovered, and it is this. At a very young age, I started to realize, and I think, we all have this epiphany where we go, oh, holy cow. When I get good grades, my parents like me and they love me. I get a lot of positive attention when I make the football team. I'm really feeling loved when I make the cheerleading squad. Ooh, when I got into that college or had that major or made that money or bought that nice car, people really gave me a lot of positive attention. And we high achievers make a mistake of fusing what we're doing with our worthiness. We start to believe that we are only worthy of celebration, support, and love when we are doing something that is worth celebrating or worth validating or worth cheering for. And if you don't wake up and separate the things that you're doing and striving for and the goals that you have from your inherent self-worth as a human being, you will forever feel this sense that you're not enough. You will forever feel this void. Because if your self-worth and your lovability is anchored in achievement, even when you make $1 million, even when you make the New York Times bestseller list, even when you meet the person of your dreams, the second you achieve that thing, you're going to now look for something else because your worth as a human being depends on what you're doing. The high five habit is all about this radical idea that will change your life. And the idea is this. If you are breathing, you're worthy of celebration. The mere fact that you exist is why you are worthy of being loved and supported and forgiven. And it's why you deserve kindness. It's not because you made it to the gym. It's not because you're making 100 grand. It's not because you just got promoted. Should you celebrate those wins? Of course. But those wins are not the reason why you're an extraordinary human being. And, I had this all knotted up. And, I wondered, why did I, every time I achieved my goals, I would still see a woman in the mirror that wasn't enough. I was my own worst critic. And by critic, this is what I mean. I was relentless in focusing on what wasn't working. I was relentless in pointing out to myself all the things I did wrong instead of the 1,000 things I was doing right. And that constant grinding beatdown was so just much the default. I wasn't even aware of it until I discovered the power of high-fiving myself in the mirror and silencing that critic. And, I'll tell you an even more personal thing that I bet a bunch of you are going to really relate to. So when I discovered the high five habit, and it was just by dumb luck, I was going through a lot in my life. It was April of 2020. There was a lot going on in my business. This was before the PPP loans had come out. The speaking business was in a free fall. My television show had been canceled. Our kids had come home and they were just exploding with anxiety and grief and anger about college getting canceled. Like, it was just like a mess. And I would wake up in the morning and I just felt overwhelmed by my life. And it doesn't even matter what's going on in the backdrop, because I think we've all had that experience where you just feel overwhelmed by your to-do list. You feel overwhelmed by how busy your life is. You feel overwhelmed by the issues that you're facing. Even though there's other amazing things going on, it's like the overwhelm that drags you down. And so I'm standing in the bathroom and I look at myself in the mirror and I immediately begin with the beat down. I'm like, oh God, you look terrible. And the lines on my neck and one boob's hanging lower than the other. And, you know, I did the circles under my eyes. And then, of course, once your mindset goes critical, it rests there. So it went from attacking my physical appearance to, why did I wake up so late? God, I got 8 minutes to get on a Zoom call. You forgot to text Scott back. Oh, come on, Mel. Like, boom, 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 boom. No grace, no kindness, no compassion. That's how I started my day. And in this moment, on a random morning on April 2020, all of a sudden, this is divine intervention. There is no question. I stop for a second and I realize, holy cow, that woman in the mirror looks beaten down and overwhelmed. And for whatever reason, I just raised my hand and I gave her a high five in the mirror. And, you know, look, it's not like lightning struck in that moment. But what happened is my shoulders dropped. I laughed because it seemed so stupid. But I felt this like energy shift. It was sort of like a shift like, all right, okay, sort of like if a teammate blows a free throw in basketball. When you high five them, it's like, shake it off. Come on, we're going to still win. Get out there. I believe in you. Let's go. It's that kind of energy. And so I felt that. And I kind of had this like, come on, you got a roof over your head. You're going to be fine. You're going to figure it out. I know it's a lot, but you're going to figure it out. And boom, I went on with my day. And the next day, I did it again. And the next day, I did it again. And the next day, I did it again. And I started to realize I was feeling something. First of all, the critic was shutting up. Because here's where the science gets crazy cool. And this isn't just Mel Robbins science. The woman who discovered neuroplasticity 30 years ago, that neuroscientist, went bananas. Her head basically exploded when I started discussing the high five habit. Why has it been tough? You really love her. You're getting on a plane and you're going to go see her.
Yeah, I love her a bunch.
Okay.
So, I guess I'm kind of coming to the realization that I haven't been hearing her properly or connecting with her on the level that I should be. And now I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So a couple months ago, we've been having counseling. And,
that's good. My husband and I go to counseling.
It helps. She was doing it before, and then it kind of became the group, and then now I kind of see a little bit on my own. So I'm recognizing these things, but I also know like a couple of months ago in counseling, she admitted on her last tour that she had emotionally connected with somebody else. So obviously that put a big fire under my ass.
Yeah.
And supposedly
it's scary.
Supposedly I handled it really well, so she's wanting to, you know, do all this. She's worked a lot on herself for kind of getting to the point where she's at. Yeah. She's got a spot on the bookshelf that's 12, 15 composition books deep of just thoughts ever since she was back, I think she said, to like 12.
Amazing.
So because of some things that happened to her before that age of being taken advantage of.
This is for your flight 282 over services to Pittsburgh at 8:17. This is serving as a final boarding class. The doors are closing in about 3 minutes, and they will not
in doing this, you realize how much you need to work on yourself.
It's scary. And then a lot of regrets come up, and a lot of things you wish you could do over, and then you start to realize there's shit from your past that really messed with you, that you shoved down, that happened when you were a kid. This is, I think, the cycle that we all hit in adulthood. And here's the amazing opportunity. You not only have an amazing opportunity to change the person that you are and to change the relationship that you have with your life, but you have an amazing opportunity to change the relationship you have with yourself.
Yes.
Because your thoughts, your feelings, they actually matter too. And you can't get...
I've been neglected.
Yes. See, relationships are amplifiers. You go into a relationship and you're not right with yourself, that relationship just magnifies what's missing. What did you just get from that?
I like that. Well, it's going to expose those demons more.
Yeah, and here's the thing that most men, at least in a traditional gender sense, don't understand. That it takes tremendous strength to be vulnerable. It takes tremendous strength to talk about the shit that's bothering you.
Yeah.
It takes tremendous strength to admit that you're wrong and to be scared. And that's actually what makes you connect more deeply to your partner. My husband of 25 years failed miserably in the restaurant business. Nearly bankrupted us. Lost it all. When he left the business, he was an alcoholic and completely lost and demoralized. And I did not know until recently, because it was through these rock bottom moments that my career took off. I invented this little thing called the 5-second rule that I used to get out of bed when the anxiety was so crushing. The only thing that would help me escape it was drinking myself into oblivion to numb it all out. And I started using this little brain hack to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shut down the noise in my brain and launch myself forward through the fear, through the pain, through all of it. And my whole life turned around. Chris's life turned around. But I did not know until recently, when we've been in couples therapy, that the man has, for the last 8 years, just been beating the hell out of himself because he feels like he failed. He feels like he wasn't there for me. He feels like he didn't do his job providing. Yeah. And then when your spouse starts to get successful and they start to find themselves, it gets very confusing. And so, what I want to tell you is that the opportunity to connect with her is through being open and through being vulnerable. Like, go toward that shit. I'm proud of you.
I've been doing it, as you see.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. And you got to learn how to love yourself, regardless of what happened. Regardless of what you did or didn't do, regardless of all that, you got to learn how to look in the mirror and see a man who is worth rooting for and who is worthy of love. It is not too late to change this. It is not too late to change your life. It's not too late to change your marriage. But it's an inside-out job. You start to show yourself some kindness and some love. And you start sharing more of the stuff that's coming up for you. And that is the path that's going to actually heal you, and it's going to
stop.
Yes. Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just need my mojo back. I think that's what she met in me. I had a nice swagger and everything, but it's gotten diluted or
by life.
I think so. Maybe my own just being stagnant. And
that's it.
Accepting instead of keep pushing.
You know, my good friend Joel Marin, who you should follow, just sent me a freaking thing that he wrote today. Oh my God, Joel! Praise you, Joel. Joel, I cannot believe this. Joel Marin, I'll give you his name. He literally wrote me this whole thing that he wrote today that you need to hear. Wait till I'm going to find out. Marion. He wrote me this whole thing about the fact that when we are born, we have incredible potential, but so few of us realize what we're capable of. And he uses this analogy. This is in your DNA. You were created to be a Lamborghini in life. You have literally everything inside you to be able to perform like that Lambo. You're manufactured that way. That engine, 729 horsepower engine, is in there. That insane torque. You have unbelievable intrinsic ability to go from 0 to 65 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. But for most of us, we never experience close to those numbers that we are created to perform at. And so he tells a story about how he was test driving one, but the neighborhood he's in has like 35 mile per hour speed limit.
Okay.
He ended up not buying it because he never experienced the potential.
Right.
What you're talking about is you're talking about the fact that you actually know there is that inside of you. And when you lose your capacity that you were built in, and you stop growing, and you stop stretching yourself, and you stop pushing yourself forward and learning new stuff and expressing yourself, something inside you starts to feel like it's dying.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you,
that engine.
yes, it's still there. And the reason why it's still there is because you're missing.
Yeah.
And you can only miss something you know.
Okay.
So I think Joel sent me that for a reason. In times of my life when I felt lost or stagnant, I say I feel like a racehorse tied to a pony ride at a kid's birthday party. Like I am built to fucking run.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I feel like just tied down like that.
Yeah.
And so there is something inside you that you've been holding back. What do you think it is?
Not really sure.
Well, I would take on a challenge.
I'm not sure if it's a passion that I've ever tapped into or something that I've missed since, earlier years.
Who knows? I think you should take on a challenge. I think you should take on climbing some mountain or some kind of race or some like fitness thing, something that's a little out of your comfort zone to give you something to push you. It doesn't have to be the perfect thing. Just something that you're up to is enough.
Yeah.
But I want to acknowledge you for the fact that you recognize that there's an issue and you're taking the steps to go make the effort. You're getting on a plane, you're flying to surprise your wife.
Not only that, but I deal with motion sickness, vertigo, and
awesome.
And I don't drive well at night, so I've got the bands on.
Great, they work.
I took my motion sickness pills.
I love that. I give you a high five for that. That's fantastic.
We're doing what we can.
You're doing it. Then does she know you? She doesn't know you're coming.
She does now.
Oh, good.
She didn't a couple days ago, but then we were trying to do the pregnancy reveal to some of the family because we just found out last week.
Congratulations!
So she was all like, I'm going to do it. You're there. I'm here. And I want to video chat my family and be able to like tell them because she's up where some of the family is and she was seeing someone coming to visit. So I told her, I'll tell you what, well, I'm actually coming up there. So she was pretty surprised, but
That's awesome. You're going to be an awesome dad. You want to know who the best dads are?
Yeah.
The ones who are actually right with themselves.
That's true.
The ones who are able to talk about their emotions. The ones who are able to be human.
This is my second child. This is her first, but I told them, my son's almost 23.
That's amazing.
So to start over, it's it's been a lot of emotion.
You're not going to start over. You actually are building upon. Okay.
And my son's been great. He's guys would be super impressed with how good my son is. He hasn't seen his mom since he was 6 years old, so I kind of raised him on that. I mean, there's people in and out of the life, but yeah.
You got a moment in your life to make yourself really proud of yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And if I were a betting woman, some days I am, depends how much liquor I get, I'd place my bet on you.
That's what I'd like. I want that more than anything.
Don't wish for it, don't want it.
And my wife deserves it.
Do the work. No, hold on.
What? Go ahead.
You deserve it.
I deserve it. Okay.
Give yourself what you're seeking from other people. Seek redemption and forgiveness because you deserve it from yourself. And in my book, forgiveness means that you have stopped wishing things could be different. Accept everything that's happened or didn't happen as a lesson. And as long as you hold on to that shit from the past, you're actually still there.
Yeah. Okay.
What'd you get out of this?
I got a little more resiliency, a little pick-me-up, and I'm glad I came and talked to you very much and took the time. I wasn't sure if I was imposing because I didn't know if it was more like a female thing, but I have plenty of emotion that I'm pretty open with. Sometimes too open, maybe.
I don't think so. I'm also going to introduce you to my husband. So he created a men's group a men's retreat called Soul Degree, where he takes guys out into the woods for 5 days to actually have these kinds of conversations. And he's had guys from 22 to 60 plus, multiple tours of duty, professional athletes, regular, just everyday folks like all of us. And it's remarkable. And what he also does, because he only does these a couple times a year, is he also has calls every month where it's guys get on and he leads a meditation, and then there's a topic that y'all discuss, and it's really freaking cool. And so I will make sure that you have his information, and I will get both of your email addresses, and I will have my team email you a credit so you can listen to one of my books on Audible.
That's cool. I've been doing a lot more trying to listen to stuff, and you know, you just don't know what direction to go, because some stuff is just, some people just want to make some money on you, and you know, there's so much out there. You just want to find the right path, as best as possible. So,
awesome.
Thank you.
You came out of the womb beautiful and whole and complete, and you had intelligent design to you. Like, think about the fact that you knew instinctively in your body how to go from being a blob to rolling over to scooching to crawling to standing. In fact, you had natural resilience because you learned to walk by falling. The average toddler falls 17 times an hour. You don't remember any of this. Do you know what you used to do when you would go to a mirror? Oh, you'd like crawl towards it. And then you see a baby in a mirror, and then they go up to it and they're like, and they're like licking it. They love themselves so much. They literally like are up against the mirror. Somebody else trained you to look at yourself in a mirror and see ugliness or stupidity, or you're too dark, or you're too light, or too big, or too small, or too old, or too this, or too that, or to the other thing. And I am here to tell you that if you can create new pathways, new habits, it will change absolutely everything. Because have you ever been hiking in the woods and you're on this path, right? Right now, the path that you're walking on in the woods is negative. And what I'm here to tell you is simply starting to high-five yourself in the mirror is a simple act with evidence behind it that you are now going to cut your own path through the woods, and it's going to lead you towards confidence and courage. It's going to lead you back to who you are. Because remember, you weren't born like this. If we can clear this crap away, all of that natural love and those dreams inside of you and the wisdom and the courage and the confidence that you were born with, this is why you feel like something's missing. You are a happy person. You are a confident person. And I know that because you wouldn't miss it if you didn't know what it felt like.
What the heck happened to the happy me? If I was born a happy person, what the heck happened? Why am I not happy now that I'm an adult? Well, simple. The reason why you're not happy as an adult is because life got its hands on you. How many of you feel like, yep, life got its hands on me, all right? Well, from an early age, your life stirred all kinds of shit. All the highs and the lows from your life, they get tumbled together like a load of laundry in a dryer, where all of a sudden everything goes in bright colors and it comes out, everything's kind of that light grayish blue color because it all gets blended together. And like I said, and like I write about in the High Five Habit, you were born perfect. You were born whole and complete, as you are. You came out of that womb perfectly wired to grow into a beautiful, smart, amazing, passionate person. But somewhere along the way, as you grew up, as you went to school, as you tried to make friends, as you tried to fit in, you got a very clear message. There's something wrong with you as you are. And I see people from all over the world. So write in the comments where you are watching from. I see Palestine, Kentucky, Ontario, Des Moines. I see folks all over the place. Let's see here. From all India. Welcome in, everybody. And this is true regardless of where you were born. Regardless of where you were born in the world, you were born and came into this world whole, complete, beautiful, happy. You loved yourself. And then as you grew up and you tried to fit in and you tried to survive whatever it was that you were needing to survive in your community or your household, to get the love, to get the attention, to get the support that you needed, you started to change. You started to believe that you needed to change something about yourself in order to be liked or accepted. Now, when you start to feel like there's something wrong with you, and do any of you that are watching right now feel like you kind of know when that happened? Like there's a story that you can remember where somebody said something or did something and you're like, my tough skin jeans and the t-shirt I wear, there's something wrong with this because the kids that I want to be friends with don't like this. Or a coach said, you run funny, and you started to feel like there's something wrong with you. If you know the moment that you started to think, wow, I got to change myself to fit in. I can't be gay. I can't have kinky hair. I don't like the color of my skin because I feel like there's something wrong with me. Society gave you that message. Your parents did. Maybe a bully said something to you. I see somebody writing the way that I walk. I see somebody talking about the texture of their hair. I see somebody saying, I always felt like there was something wrong with me. Well, let me tell you something, everybody. I never fit in with any particular groups of friends. Let me tell you something. Every one of you is now going, I remember that feeling because I was the only immigrant in my class. I was the only Muslim in my class. I didn't look like the other people. I didn't feel like the other people. My father was so critical, right? When you start to get this message from society or other people or just this perception that you have that something's wrong with you, this is where your obsession with changing yourself to fit in begins. This is where your obsession with people pleasing, this is where this sense that you don't belong anywhere that you go began. And it can become a habit. And so we're going to unpack this because what I want you to understand is that you literally came into this world perfect, whole, and complete. You are wired to love yourself. You're wired for love. That's why you miss it. You're wired for self-acceptance. And the world taught you that there's something about you that needs to be changed in order to be liked or loved. And it's simply not true. When you can come back home to yourself and you can accept and love yourself first, exactly where you are, exactly where you're not, then you'll know the secret to going out in the world and not feeling like you never really belong anywhere or you constantly need to tweak yourself or how you show up in order to be accepted by people. When you accept yourself as you are, when you love yourself as you are, other people liking or loving you is just a bonus, but it doesn't change how you feel about yourself. And that's what we're talking about in Chapter 4 of the High Five Habit. This feeling that you feel, everybody, that there's something wrong with you, it's a very normal thing. It happens in child development. Psychologists call this moment where you suddenly go from feeling connected to yourself and perhaps to people in your family or to friends, to feeling outside of your family or feeling like you're not part of something. That they call this a break in belonging. You start to feel like you don't belong in your family or your church or your friend group or your neighborhood or even the world at large. And that feeling then creates this second break, and it's the break in feeling connected to yourself, who you really are. You know, and this break in belonging, everyone, it's normal. It happens to all of us, and it can happen a million different ways. You know, maybe you grew up and you had to move a lot, and so you were constantly changing schools, and so you always felt like an outsider looking in because every school year you needed to make new friends. Maybe you were attacked or unsafe as a child. Maybe you got called stupid or you had a critical parent because you were dyslexic. Maybe you were put in special classes or you were the only kid who was transgender or Muslim or a refugee or black in your entire class. And so you didn't look around and see anybody that looked like you. And that made you feel like something was up. Maybe you got teased for how you looked or spoke or acted. Or you felt uncomfortable getting undressed in gym class because your mom was constantly on you about your weight And so that made you feel like, God, there's something wrong with me. I can't just love myself as I am. When your home life or your friends at school or the world itself makes you feel like you're not okay, or you're unsafe or unworthy of love, as a kid, we believe it. And it happens to all of us. No one, not you, not me, no one gets to being an adult without experiencing this kind of break in belonging and this kind of trauma. And it could have been really serious things that you survived. Maybe your dad walked out on the family, or your mom had severe depression, or your brother died by suicide. Maybe you lived growing up with the constant worry about where your next meal was coming from, or you experienced racism and bias every single day in your neighborhood, or maybe your family rejected you because you did have the courage to be who you are. You did have the courage to say that you are a gay person, or you had a parent who struggled with addiction or was constantly shaming you with the silent treatment. You know, these experiences impacted you. You absorbed them as a child in your mind, body, and spirit. It's not like you could leave, right? I mean, when you're a kid, our only choice is to survive the situation that we're in. And this is especially hard on an emotional level, this sort of break in belonging. You know, I see some people saying, I didn't fully start to understand myself until my 50s. I really believe that. Me too. Like, it took me a long time, and it's my hope that in putting the high five habit out and doing the work to help you learn how to take control of your thoughts and your actions so that you can create the life that you want, that part of what happens is that you come back into accepting, loving, and knowing yourself. It's the ultimate secret weapon, everyone. So when something happens to you as a kid, you don't have the life experience or the support system to process what's happening. So you absorb it in your nervous system and coping patterns and thoughts. You know, as I said, your only option when you're a kid is to just survive it. And you know, what's interesting, and I think this is a fundamental flaw in human wiring. There's so much amazing intelligence in the way that you and I are designed, all human beings. If you think about all of the sophisticated wiring in your brain, in your body, your nervous system, your digestive system, your heartbeat, how your body's constantly learning and creating new cells, like, it's freaking mind-blowingly cool. But one thing that's really screwed up about all of us, and I think it's a flaw in human design, is that when something happens to you or to me as a child, we don't have the life experience or the default thinking patterns in our brain to go, wait a minute, this is really f***ed up. We don't have the ability to be objective and go, these adults need to be arrested because this is not okay. We don't have the support system or the life experience to go, wow, if this kid is hurting me, I'm sure somebody's hurting this kid at their house. What happens is that when something bad or scary or stressful happens to you as a kid, do you know what we all do? We point it right back at ourselves. We literally say to ourselves, something must be wrong with me. Something must be wrong with me. If my parents treat me like this, something must be wrong with me. If these kids don't include me, something must be wrong with me. We turn it back on ourselves because we don't know any better. We're just kids, and that's when it happens. You start to get this default kind of filter about your whole life where you look at the world and you have this default opinion that something's wrong with you. And it's just simply not true, okay? And I'm going to teach you that you can change that. You can change that. You can live your life without ever thinking something's wrong with me. Are there things that you need to change? Of course. There's always going to be things that you need to change because you're always going to be changing and life's always going to be changing around you. But those are opportunities. It doesn't mean that there's something fundamentally flawed about you. You might have some thinking patterns that are broken based on where you are right now. You might have some habits that don't work for you anymore. That doesn't mean something's wrong. It means there's something you need to change. That's it. That's it. So, you know, I did the same thing. When I was 9 years old, I was molested by an older kid. And what was my immediate reaction and processing? That I had done something wrong. course I hadn't done something wrong, but that's just how the kid brain works. Something's wrong with me. And, you know, it's what our son did when he was bullied at a summer camp that we sent him to. What he did is he hid his pain, and then he blamed himself for being the one that this bully picked on in the cabin. And, you know, I, of course, blame myself for not picking up on the clues sooner and ripping our son right out of that freaking camp. I'm sure that's what you did too with the experiences you survived. You made the things that were done to you or the situations that you survived as a child mean that something's wrong with you, that you're damaged or that you're not lovable or you're unworthy or you're not good enough. That is up, and we all do it. The truth is you were just a kid doing the best that you could. And what's awesome about seeing your past experiences this way is that when you realize we all have this flaw in terms of the way that the brain processes trauma and stress and scary situations and abuse and violence and all the things that you can experience as a kid, is that when you understand that this is what happened, you can change this default in terms of your opinion about yourself. Because when you think there's something wrong with you, of course you're going to be a people pleaser. Of course you're going to have imposter syndrome. Of course you're going to have anxiety. Of course you're going to feel on edge. Because your default opinion is there's something that's not okay with you. And that's not true. There are opportunities for you to heal. There are opportunities for you to upgrade your habits. There are opportunities for you to think differently. There are opportunities for you to heal your nervous system, all of which we talk about in the High Five Habit book, using science and simple things that you can do. So, you know, whether you were dealing with a critical mom or parents who got divorced or racist microaggressions every day or physical abuse, you did what I did. You turned this stuff back on yourself. It's why you think you're not good enough. That is a massive flaw in human design. Instead of blaming the people that hurt you or blaming society, you blame yourself. And you think there's something wrong with me. Now, as much as I hate to admit it, as a parent, we often send that message to our children that there's something wrong with you or that I don't like you how you are. And we do it unintentionally sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's pretty overt. You know, if your parent is hypercritical or a real jerk, they might be doing it overtly. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, by the way. It means they have trauma. They're taking it out on you. There's something they need to deal with. So here's the story I promised to tell you. This is the lesson I didn't mean to teach our son. And the lesson that I taught him that I did not mean to teach him is that I don't like you, and I'm not going to love you unless you look the way I want you to look. Okay? That's the lesson I unintentionally taught him. So I'm about to tell you a story. I'm on page 56 in chapter 4 of the High Five Habit. I'm about to tell you a story that I hate because it makes me feel like a terrible mom. But I'm sharing it because the story illustrates just how loud and consistent this message is, that there's something wrong with who you are, what you look like, and how you express yourself. And to take it a deeper level, that unless you fix it, I don't love you. I reject you because I'm not going to accept who you are, what you look like, or how you express yourself. So when our son Oakley was in the 6th grade, he dyed the ends of his hair because he was a huge fan of the video gamer Ninja. And it looked really cool, and he loved it, and I loved it. And then our son changed schools in 7th grade. And as we were leading up to the first day at his new school, I started to worry that the kids at his new school might be mean to him if he showed up on day 1 and he had blue hair. Look, it's hard enough to be the new kid in 7th grade, right? Try being the new kid with blue hair. Actually, try being the new kid with blue hair who's got a neurotic mother who's desperately trying to make you change who you are and what you look like. Yes, this book is available online. You can get it at Amazon. You can listen to it on Audible. It's coming out in 31 languages. They're starting to release around the world. And we are on chapter 4, page 57, for those of you who are asking and want to read along. So for weeks, you guys, I'm not proud to admit this, I kept asking our son, hey, you want to get a haircut before school? And maybe cut those tips off? You know, maybe try something new? Now, our son, here's the most important part. Our son, 7th grader, he's not nervous about his hair. He's not nervous about what he looks like. He's completely comfortable. He chose the blue. He loves the blue. He wasn't nervous or rejecting himself. I was. And as school got closer, I kept asking him more. You sure you don't want to get a haircut? And then his older sisters piled on. You know, dude, it's not like you're a star lacrosse player. Maybe you don't want to roll into school with blue hair, dude. Well, Oakley, our son, finally caved. And he got a trim before his first day of school, and he cut the blue ends off of his hair. And here's the thing, everybody. He didn't cut the blue tips of his hair off for himself. He did it to appease our fears. See, when you're a kid, everyone's going to tell you what to do or what they'd like you to do. And you acquiesce because you want to make your mom happy. You don't want her to be upset. You don't want to disappoint anybody. You want to fit in with the cool kids. Or maybe you acquiesce because you don't have a freaking choice. But what happens is it gets conditioned into you that love and acceptance are transactional. I'm going to say it again. When you feel pressure to change who you are or how you talk or how you dress or what you look like because your parents or your friends pressure you to, you're learning that love and acceptance are transactional. If you do what I say, then I'll love you. If you look the way I want you to look, then I'll be nice to you. If you do exactly what I want you to do, and you dress how I want you to dress, or talk how I want you to talk, or pretend that you like the opposite sex when you don't, then I'll love you, then it'll be okay, then I'll be happy. You are learning a lesson that love and acceptance are transactional. That is horrible. And that's how you learn the lesson to withhold love and acceptance for yourself. That you won't love yourself unless you lose the weight. You won't accept yourself or support yourself or love yourself unless you get that big job and you make that money. You learn that love is transactional from your parents because you got the message that unless you behaved exactly how you were supposed to behave, they weren't going to like you. And you probably got the message that they would withhold love if you didn't do what they wanted you to do, whether that's behave or look a certain way. This is the all bought into, by the way. Looking back on this story with our son Oakley, I realized the message I was sending, the mistake I made. I was saying, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with the way you look. There's something about you that I don't like, and I'm not going to like you until you change to make me happy. I was basically saying, I'm only going to accept the version of you that makes me happy. Yet in reality, here's the irony. I actually felt the opposite, you guys. I loved his hair, but I didn't trust the other 7th graders would accept him with blue hair. I was just trying to give him the best chance for a smooth start, but instead, I clearly made him question his own choices and whether or not I loved and accepted him as he was, as he appeared. I was telling him this too, and this is scary to admit to you. I was telling him, I'd rather you fit in than be yourself. I'm going to say it again. I taught my son this lesson. I'd rather you fit in than be yourself. Holy shit, what a mistake. What a mistake. Oh my God. I hate this. I hate that I did this. You know, and I feel horrible because I know that somewhere along the line, we all got that message, right? It's better to fit in than be yourself. That's how it begins. There's something wrong with you. You better fit in because it's better to fit in than be yourself. And that what, and this is core to a very big lie that you and I believe. That what other people think of you is more important than what you think of yourself. That's bull. This is how you started to believe that other people's opinions of you is more important than what you think of yourself. This is how you started to believe that fitting in is more important than being you. Complete bullshit. The secret to life is actually the opposite. Be yourself. Be yourself. Let the world fit into who you are. Be yourself. It's more important that you be yourself and like yourself than anything else, everybody. And we've all bought into this bullshit our whole life because people taught you that this is how the world works. This is the lesson I didn't mean to teach our son, that it's better to fit in than be yourself, that I'll like you and love you if the version of you is the one that I like and love. Ugh, I hate that I did this. And kids, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry. And I'm sure your parents, if you're not my kids that are watching this, didn't mean to do it either. They didn't know any better. This is how their parents raised them. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is what's so, everybody. I hate that story. But that's the heart of what happened to you, to me, to everybody you know. You started questioning what you look like and what you do and ultimately who you are. And that's how your connection to your truest self gets blocked. That's why you stopped accepting yourself. It's why you started criticizing yourself. It's why you stand in front of a mirror and pick yourself apart, because your mom or dad used to do it to you. For our daughter or anyone who struggles with their appearance, you got to start to reverse this. You got to learn how to appreciate the parts of yourself right now. You got to stop trashing yourself. If you are pulling on a pair of jeans and beating yourself up and trashing yourself because they're tough to pull on, just dump the jeans in the trash, please. Because when you criticize yourself and you beat yourself up, you're treating yourself the way I treated our son. You are basically treating yourself the way I treated our son. You're saying your love for yourself is transactional. Until I approve of everything about your life and the way you look, I'm going to withhold the love and acceptance that you need in life. And it's a horrible way to go. So you don't hate, appreciate. You don't need to change anything to deserve the love and acceptance that you need. Just like my son did not need to change his blue hair to be loved and accepted. To be loved and accepted for who you are, all I needed to do was love and accept him exactly as he was. I made a huge mistake, everybody. The next time you stand in front of a mirror, stop poking and prodding and picking yourself apart. For those of us that put makeup on, let the makeup be a creative expression, something that's additive, and stop having the makeup be an act where you cover yourself up because you think you're ugly or you think that how you look isn't okay. If you're going to wear makeup, do it as a creative expression. Do it because it's fun. Don't do it because you need to fix yourself, because you don't need to fix yourself. Just like my son did not need to cut his hair. I needed to learn the lesson that love is not transactional. Love is unconditional. Love is accepting somebody for exactly who they are and where they are and how they look and how they express themselves. That's what love is. It's accepting someone for everything that they are and everything that they're not. It's caring for somebody and supporting and seeing somebody for who they are right now, where they are right now, no matter what that may be. Because when you start your day, and you need to do this with yourself, by the way, and the way that you do that is stop poking and prodding and picking yourself apart, please. Stop doing that. It makes you feel dejected and rejected and discouraged. When you pick yourself apart in the mirror every morning, you are acting like I did with our son. You're basically staring at the blue hair saying, I'll love you if you cut it. I'll accept you if you change something about that reflection in the mirror. And by the way, this picking and rejecting that you do of yourself, it sets the tone for what you think and feel all day. Instead, I'd like you to start each morning the way I should have been back then with our son, by looking for qualities that you appreciate. Notice the intricacies about your face that you ignore. Notice your strength, your intuition. Thank your body for how it's taken care of you. Despite you trashing it all these years, it's still got a beating heart. It's still moving forward. Or how those stretch marks remind you of the kids that you have. There's nothing wrong with you, period. You may not be happy with where you are in life right now. That may be a fact. You may not be happy about the balance in your bank account. That may be a fact. You may not be happy about the number on the scale. That's a fact. You may not be happy about the size of the pants, the car you drive, where you live, who you hang out with, decisions you've made. Yeah, but here you are. Life hasn't been easy, but here you are. Resilient, intelligent, strong, still standing. Still waking up every day, pushing yourself to learn and grow and become a better person. And honestly, you know what? That makes you awesome. I love what Jordan shared with me after she started this habit of high-fiving herself in the mirror instead of tearing herself apart. She said, so often self-love is shown to be about fixing yourself. That's why I love high-fiving myself in the mirror, because it shows us that self-love is really about falling in love with the parts of you that you're trying to fix. Oh my God, I love that. I love that. Self-love is really about falling in love with the parts of yourself you've been trying to fix. There is so much about you to love. Soak it in. And then every single morning, raise your hand and seal this appreciation into your subconscious. Demonstrate it. Prove it by high-fiving the person you see in the mirror. The person with the blue hair and the stretch marks and the, saggy neck and all that you are and all that you aren't. Love yourself for exactly where you are. This is page 54, chapter 4. I just want to say one other thing. I'm going to answer one or two questions, and then we're going to sign off. And yes, I am going to read the rest of this book for free online. If you have not bought a copy, this is the greatest gift that you could give somebody this holiday season, because you're giving somebody the gift of learning how to love yourself, accept yourself, and support yourself in changing your life and in creating the life that you want. So the best freaking gift you could possibly give somebody, including yourself. But I want to just say one thing, because one of the things that I also realized about telling my son, and one of the things I also realized about teaching my son this lesson I didn't mean to teach him, and the lesson is that love is transactional, that there's something about you that needs to be fixed, that I'm not going to like you or love you unless you cut this blue hair off. Even though I didn't mean to teach that lesson, it is a lesson I regret teaching him, that love is transactional, because love isn't and shouldn't be transactional. True love is unconditional and supportive and kind and compassionate. And that's what you need from yourself, and that's what you need in your relationships, and it starts with you. The other message, though, that I was sending to our son, which is just as damaging of a message, is I was basically saying to him, if other kids tease you about your blue hair, or they reject you for how you look, you're not strong enough to handle it. So you better cut your hair, you better change yourself, because you're not strong enough to stand in who you are. That is the second lesson that I mistakenly taught him, because the fact of the matter is that I should have said that I love your hair, you walk in there, and if somebody said something, then I could have talked to him, coached him, and supported him in standing strong in who he is, to make him understand that when somebody attacks somebody else, it sucks and it feels bad, but it's always a reflection of some insecurity. Anybody that teases a kid with blue hair is afraid that the kid with blue hair is about to become more popular than them, because they're way cooler than them, and they clearly have parents that aren't controlling freaks like I used to be, that allow them to express themselves. And so the attacking comes more out of jealousy and insecurity than anything else. A lesson that you could easily teach a 7th grader and that they can get. And you can also then teach them, you have the power to stand in who you are. You are bigger than fitting in. You are more powerful than somebody else's criticism. And you have the tools, the resources, and the support system to withstand that kind of teasing, to get the support that you need, and to not change yourself because of some tool at school that is saying something annoying. Your life is always trying to teach you something. You may not want to learn what it's trying to teach you, but your life is always trying to teach you something. Whether life is going easy, it's trying to teach you something. You know what life is teaching you when life is easy? It's teaching you what works. It's teaching you the habits and the kinds of people that make you feel good. It's teaching you what life working looks like. And you know what life is teaching you when life is hard? It's teaching you what is broken. It's trying to wake you up. And what I've learned the hard way, do not do what I did. I am so damn stubborn. Like, if you think about life as a giant school, life is the greatest school you will ever attend. You can enjoy it, you can hate it, but life is always going to be school because life is always teaching you something. And do not make the mistake that Mel Robbins makes, because I'm a very stubborn student. And what happens is, if you don't get the lesson that life is trying to teach you, life just brings out the sledgehammer. And that's what happened to me. It just hit me over the head with a freaking sledgehammer. And so I want you to stop for a second right now. And I want you to think, what is my life trying to teach me right now? And here's a simple exercise that my friend Pete gave me. It's so dead simple, it's kind of nuts. You're going to take out a piece of paper. He said, Mel, take out a piece of paper. And I have my journal here. You can hear me like flipping it open right now because this is like what actually happened. December 21st, last year, I was speaking with my friend Pete Sheehan. I got to find the page here. I should have put a little, oh, here it is right here. And he said, Mel, I want you to draw a line down the center of a page. And on the left-hand side, for the little ears, I apologize, but this is what it says: shit I hate. On the right-hand side, things I love. I want you to write down everything that is not working that you hate about your life. And here's a nicer way to say it. Where in your life do you feel friction? Where in your life do you feel friction? It could be in your body. It could be in your relationships. It could be at work. It could be when you look at your bank account. Where is life creating friction? It's hard. You're frustrated. Everything feels like a fight. This is where the lesson is, everybody. Friction is how your life teaches you to wake up and pay attention. Friction is where your life is trying to hit you with a sledgehammer, because life wants you to be happy. Life wants you to feel good about yourself. Life wants you to enjoy yourself. Life wants you to live in alignment with what's meant for you. And you see, when you feel friction, I felt friction in every single aspect of my life. I felt friction in my body. I felt friction in my mental health. There was not a place when I sat down to do this exercise, what do I hate? Where there was not friction. That's how bad it was. I wrote, I hate packing on a Sunday and leaving my family to drive home and be alone. I hate flying alone. I hate working alone. I hate being stuck somewhere and not being able to get home. I hate the fact that I feel like I've got to generate all the ideas and keep going and going and going, and that I can't stop. I hate feeling insignificant. I hate feeling disconnected. I hate feeling like I'm just going with no plan. I hate feeling disorganized and dropping balls and ADHD and lack of support on the administrative side of my life. I hate feeling overwhelmed. I hate having to set up technology. I hate never seeing my friends. I hate not knowing what's going on. I hate having nobody to handle things to. I hate that I feel like everything is a broken process. I hate working remote. I hate not knowing how everything I'm working toward is going to connect to something bigger. Wow, that's a lot of stuff that I hate. I hate my negative thoughts. It goes on and on and on. My list of things that were causing friction. I hate that I don't live with Chris and my husband. I hate that I don't see my friends. I hate that I'm constantly traveling in order to work.
I hate the feeling of loneliness. It just goes on and on and on. Now, here's what's interesting. Life is trying to teach me something. And what my life was teaching me with a gigantic sledgehammer is that it's not working. It's not working. Wherever you have friction, there is either a broken process or a broken set of relationships, or there is something that is no longer aligned with you, or there are the wrong people around you. That's all that it is. And see, we get so attached to the way that things are that we don't get the lessons. And when you don't get the lessons, you close off what could be. And I'm here to tell you that you deserve to have a life where you don't feel friction every day. You're not wired to live a life where you feel that intense. And I can give you some other examples. Like, when our son was in the 4th grade, he would just explode when we had to sit down and do homework at night, like full on temper tantrums. You know what that is? That is friction in a young person's body. That is him feeling this deep sense that something's off. And when that happened for our son, and he would pound his head against the kitchen island and he would cry before he had to go to school, he didn't know what was wrong, but he was trying to teach us something. Life was trying to teach us something. His body intrinsically knew that something was off. And what turned out to be off is that the kid had profound dyslexia, profound dysgraphia, executive functioning, attention stuff going on, and he couldn't sit in the classroom and neurologically do what was being asked of him to do. And so I'm here to tell you, when you make this list of things that you hate, the areas of your life that create friction for you right now, that's where the lessons are. And those lessons will repeat until you learn them. Do not be stubborn. Do not look at the friction as if something's wrong. Look at the friction in your life as an opportunity to create alignment, as an opportunity to pull your life back into the other column, which is things that I love. And there was so much that I loved in my life. There was the therapy that I was doing. There was the time that I was spending with Chris and our son and building a house. There was all the new things we were working on. There was the podcast that was out in the future. All of this stuff. You got to walk toward the things. You got to do more of what's in alignment. But I'm telling you right now, the lessons are in the hard stuff. The lessons are in the friction. So that's lesson number 1. Your life is trying to teach you something. It always is. Stop resisting the lesson. Because I have found in personal experience that if you refuse to learn the lesson, life will show up with a sledgehammer. When I look backwards now, I can see that I've been addicted to being busy for a long time. I can see that I needed to deal with this friction for a long time. It's just got louder and louder and louder to the point where I could no longer ignore it. I could also see, looking backwards, that I had often had people in my inner circle that were doing things like lying and betraying me, and I had ignored it. And I had made excuses for people. And so guess what? Those betrayals just got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was so painful that I had to finally learn the lesson. And so friction in your life is a good thing because friction wakes you up. Friction puts a spotlight on what's not working. And friction only builds, everyone, until you learn the lesson and you make a decision to turn toward it. So tool number 1, I promised 3 tools. Tool number 1 is a framework. You're starting to realize Mel Robbins, she loves her frameworks. And here's why. I think advice is boring and intellectual. And so I like to have metaphors and frameworks because it helps me to truly, make it stick. So here's one of my favorite frameworks for friendship. You've probably heard it. There are 3 types of friendships. And this helps you be really flexible in your friendships. It also helps you to remind yourself of the truth, okay? So here are the 3 types of friendships. You ready? And this framework is, there are friends for a reason, there are friends for a season, and there are friends for a lifetime. That's it. And if you think about people coming and going in and out of your friendship zone in a flexible way, because they're either there for a reason, or they're there for a season, or they're there for a lifetime, you now no longer are gripping. You can be flexible. You can assume people like you. You can stop holding on to the wrong people and trying to force somebody who's just there for a reason to try to be a lifetime friend. This is such a helpful framework. Let me explain it. So these people are in your life for a reason. These would be work friends. You see them all the time because you work together. They might be the parents of other kids that are on your kids' sports team, or they might be people that are on your team, right? That you're playing sports with. They're there for a reason. They might be your neighbors. They're there for a reason. These are great friends to have. They're there for a certain period of time. They're there to teach you something. They're there to support you on a leg of the journey called life. These are awesome friends. But don't grip onto them. Be flexible with them. Let them come in and out of your life. Love them up. Enjoy them while they're there with you. And then at some point, when you no longer have that reason to have those friends in your life, they sort of fade a little bit. They're still your friends. I guarantee you 10 years later, if you were good friends with your neighbor, they would certainly help you out. So would your friends at work. This is why flexible friendship is such an awesome concept. Now let's talk about a season. So these are folks that are there typically a little bit longer. They're there for a chapter, a season. So they might be the people that you met in college. And you were really, really close friends during college. And you were really, maybe you roomed together after college. But then people start peeling off. They start heading in different directions. They maybe move away to different cities or they get married. And so these are close friends for a certain season of your life. And, I find that I had a lot of really good friends that I was friends with when I was a young mom. That was a really amazing season in my life. I will cherish that season of my life. I had so many close female friends because we were all doing life in the same season at the same time. And when that season ended and my kids went to middle school and then they scattered even further in high school, and then all of a sudden the bomb drops on everything when they go off to college, and you don't, that season of my life was over. In fact, it had been over for a long time. And so seasons are a beautiful thing. And I'm in a new season of my life. I'm beginning a new season here in Southern Vermont, and I bet you're beginning a new season. So many of us had a reckoning with ourselves about what really mattered during COVID. And it's why so many of you made major changes like my husband and I did. And it's why those of you that haven't are probably thinking about major changes, because you haven't truly accepted the things that you were processing around COVID and the changes that you would like to make. And so friends for a season are amazing, absolutely amazing. Just love them. And when the season changes, be flexible, because a new season is beginning, which means a new seasons of friends are going to emerge. And lifetime friends, those are those 4 a.m. friends we talked about. And remember, you're doing pretty dynamite if you can think of that one person that you could just pick up the phone at 4 o'clock in the morning and call. And you know that they would pick up and just chat with you just because you wanted to talk to a friend. So, tool number 1, use that framework to enforce this flexibility. Reason, season, and lifetime. Don't force people into the wrong category. This is a big one. Please stop being mad at people for not being who you want them to be right now. Sometimes some of the most generous and beautiful and loving things that you can do for people is to graciously let them go and let them grow and let them be who they need to be in this season of their lives. Now let's move on to tool number 2, which you are probably going to hate, and that is you need to take action. That's going to require you to step out of the comfort zone of your couch and the comfiness of a Friday night alone, binge watching TV, and push yourself to get out of your comfort zone and make the effort to make friends. And this effort part's really important. There was this enormous study done at the University of Kansas, and this was mind-blowing to me. And I found it to be, again, another very helpful framework, because I think, you know, you're not a dummy, and neither am I. I know that if I sit alone in my house, it's not like friends are going to come calling and I'm going to suddenly have strangers show up that are going to become my new friends in this season of my life. I know I need to get out of the house. You know you need to make the effort, but we're not. And frameworks and research help me go, oh, this actually is a big deal. Oh, if I do want to change this and I want to stop feeling so lonely and I want to stop swimming in the toilet of comparison and dislike and insecurity, I got to climb out of the toilet. That makes a lot of sense. But this research from University of Kansas kind of blew my mind because it puts friendship into a timeline and hours perspective. Making friends, check this out. They studied how many hours it takes to make a quote friend. And this is fascinating. That as a student, it's very different than what it's like to make friends as an adult. This is why it can feel hard, because most of our lives, we were in seasons where we were forced to be in groups. Like, think about how you're in a group in elementary school, and that's how you meet your friends. And then you're in a group in middle school, and that's how you meet your friends. And then you're in a group in high school, and that's how you meet your friends. And then you're in a group in college, and that's how you meet your friends. And then all of a sudden your 20s hits, and boom. Everybody scatters. And you're like, where the hell did my friends go? In fact, I did a interview with Alex Cooper, who hosts Call Her Daddy. The episode is called, Where Did All My Friends Go? And we focused on this phenomenon in your 20s, where you feel like you don't have any friends anymore. And the reason why is because for the first 25 years of your life, your friendships were basically handed to you because you were in settings with large groups of people moving at the same pace through life together. And as soon as you graduate, you're on your own, baby. It's a whole big world out there. And if you think it's hard in your 20s, wait till your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And now you have the tools, so we don't need to freak you out. But this is normal. And we require effort. And this University of Kansas study explains this. So if you're in college and you're like swimming in the sea with all these people doing the same thing at the same time, it takes you about 43 hours to become an acquaintance with somebody. Now, you're sitting in class together. That's part of the time. You're eating in the cafeteria together. That's part of the time. You're hanging out in the dorm room together. That's part of the time. When you're an adult, to become a casual friend, it takes you 94 hours. Why? Because your patterns are very different when you're an adult. You don't have as much overlap. It's why you tend to become friends as an adult with people you work with because you spend more time with them. It's why you're friends with people that you live near because you spend time with them. This is not just common sense, it's researched. And in order to go from just a casual friend to a really good friend, if you're a student, it takes about 57 hours, which makes sense because you're spending more time together. So you're sharing more experiences together. For adults, we need about 164 hours. That's so sad. This is why it's so important for you to have this perspective and for you to understand it's going to require effort on your part, and that's okay. Knowing that everybody feels this way, knowing that everybody's at their homes alone under the fuzzy blanket on the couch, feeling like a peach that nobody likes, swimming in the toilet of comparison, feeling like friendship is so hard. Knowing that, I hope is helping you go, oh, well, maybe I could be the one. Maybe I could get all the peaches together and we could make a pie or some jam or some cobbler. That's what I did this weekend. I'm going to tell you a quick story because I think it's really important. So here I am. I always say, please come visit me. I live alone on a mountain in Vermont. I'm lonely. But the truth is, I've met a bunch of really cool people up here. And every one of us say the same thing. It's amazing living here. And I really want to meet some friends. I really want to get together with people. I want to stop saying, let's get together and not make plans. And so I'll tell you a quick story because all it takes is leaning toward your curiosity. That's all it takes. I walk this loop all the time. That's right by my house. It's a beautiful loop. It's about 4.5 miles. And I love flowers. I know there's 5 love languages. I have a 6th. Flowers, flowers, flowers. I'm like a psycho about flowers. They remind me of my parents. I love growing them. I love bringing them into the house. I just love flowers. And so this year, I've been walking this loop for 26 years. When I would visit my in-laws before we bought their house, and now it's our own. And all of a sudden this year, there was this insane flower farm that popped up. And by flower farm, I mean this patch of flowers, like an acre big. And in the spring, it was this row of gorgeous double peony tulips and French tulips and parrot tulips. And I would do this walk and I'd stop and I'd take photos, and you've probably seen them on my Instagram stories. And then as those came and went, then ranuncula came up, and it was this like triple petal ranunculus and peonies. And I'm like, oh, it's like flower porn for me. And then now there's these field of dahlias. Like dahlias are mind blowing, just gorgeous flowers. And there was never anybody there, ever. There was no sign, no nothing. And I became obsessed, you guys, with stopping by this flower patch. Just drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Oh my God, I just loved it. I would like Sound of Music with the flower patch, and I'm taking flowers, and now I feel like an influencer that's 20 years old, and I need a cowboy hat with a feather in it so that I can do the festival photos that everybody does. And I just flower porn all day long. And all of a sudden I see a truck parked there one day. And the truck, thankfully, had a contractor's label on it. And lo and behold, that same label was on a truck here at our house because we're under construction. So I walked over to and I'm like, hey, do you know this flower field? And he goes, yeah, I park my car there every once in a while. I'm like, do you know who the person is? He's like, yeah, that's Annette from Fleur Farm. I'm like, what? And I think she's on Instagram. I'm like, what? So I DM her. Oh my God, I've seen the flower. Blah, blah, blah. And then she DMs back. Oh my gosh, really? It's a labor of love. It's a hobby. A hobby? Yeah, I work full time. And I've been really worried about like how I'm going to get all the dahlia bulbs out. And I'm like, well, I'll help you. You'll help me? And so next thing you know, just by following the energy, following the connection, leaning into this season of my life, leaning into the curiosity, I DM her. She DMs back. I come to find out that she has been planting flowers in this new season of her life. She sells bulbs online. She is going through some stuff personally. And I'm like, well, I know some other women. I'll get these other women that I know to come and hang out with us. And I'll see if we can't like make something happen. And so we get 13 women to show up at the flower field on Saturday. I didn't know any of these women. And I knew some of them. I knew the ones that I invited. And then the friends that I invited invite other friends. And it was this army of new women here in southern Vermont that showed up to help another woman dig dahlias out of a field on a Saturday. And she and I have been texting ever since. So I met all these new people. We connected over something we're interested in. We now have a group chat called the Dynamite Dahlia Dames. And so Annette and I are texting. Wait to hear this. When we both showed up, she said to everybody, I'm so overwhelmed because I'm so alone and introverted. I never think anybody would help. I have trouble asking for help. And so as we're texting, she writes, I'm so grateful for everyone's kindness and presence and the joy there was in the field this morning. It's been a hard and a lonely path thus far, building a vision shovel by shovel, digging my way to a new life. Boy, I relate to that. I really relate to that. And then suddenly, out come all these fabulous women. Yes, I'm very, very happy because that morning was my highlight of my week too. So the challenge now is leaning in again and setting a date again and moving the ball down the field. Because as we know from that University of Kansas study, that it takes time and it takes effort. And we all need each other to be making the effort. And so the final tool that I'm going to give you is something that is so simple and so impactful. And I have so many friends that now do this that I'm stealing this from. And it's very simple. Every single day, make it a habit to text a friend. Just out of the blue. And if you want to amplify this, take a selfie video. Hey, I'm just on my walk and I was thinking of you. And hey, my dog says hello. And you not only underestimate how much people like you, you underestimate how much it means to somebody when they hear from you. This isn't just me. This is research that was covered in the New York Times recently about how receiving an unexpected text from a friend makes you immediately feel connected to that person, and it makes the friendship stronger. Make it a practice every single day as you start your day to reach out to one friend with a random message. In fact, I want to share one with you. So I love my friend Glo Antonimo, and she's an incredible author and podcaster and just puts out incredible content and motivational speaker, and I learned so much from her. And she is so great about this. I want you to listen to this random message that popped in my phone literally a month ago. There was her beautiful face just sending me a video message, and I'm going to play it for you because I want you to listen to it as if she's sending this to you.
Mel, hello. It has been almost a month since our last video message. And I was reading one of my daily devotional type books, and I thought of this, and I'm like, who can I send this to? And you came to my heart, so I'm going to read it out loud. You are human. You will make mistakes. Hopefully, you'll make a whole lot of them because that means you are trying. And trying means you are fully alive. It also makes life a hell of a lot more interesting. So here's to making more mistakes. Here's to living. And here's to appreciating the ebbs and flow of life. You know, it's hard for us to like maintain equilibrium. Like we try to go through life chasing and seeking comfort and just staying happy and staying positive. But sometimes in those moments and in those seasons and those valleys of depression or sadness, you know, we're meant to get something from that. And then when we come out of it, it's like we have so much more appreciation. So no need to respond. Just wanted to bless you with this message. Thinking of you, sending you love. High five.
That just like makes you feel good. And so here's what I want to tell you. I want to tell you, I love you. I believe in you. And I believe in your ability to stop telling yourself these lies and to really embrace the truth. The truth is you deserve amazing friendships. You need amazing friendships. And you are that amazing friend that somebody who is going through a very lonely season, digging their way to a new life, needs desperately right now. So 54321, as soon as we're done, I want you to text a friend of yours and level it up. Send a video and let's level it up again. Send them a link to this episode. Because the more that we get everybody reaching out and the more that we create this ripple effect, the more we are helping people get the things that they deserve and find the courage to take the actions that create it and make it a reality. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.